The quest for perfection sometimes can be a long and winding road. We'll find out why this week on Motoring 2006.
TSN's Motoring 2006 is brought to you by the new Q from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.
This week we're going to check out a couple of vehicles that are at either end of the price spectrum, but both tried some new design cues with different results. First, BMW. You may remember the newly anointed design chief Chris Bangle shocked BMW lovers by trying to freshen up the model lineup, beginning with the 7 Series. Remember, he reshaped that back end. Well, how dare anyone, especially an American, fool around with that ultimate driving experience? Well, you know what? Last I checked, BMW was still setting the benchmark for that ultimate driving experience. Now, the other company was Nissan. They actually tried to make minivans sexy by completely redoing its Quest. Well, I liked it. A friend of mine who said she hated minivans enjoyed it, yet sales were flat. Well, later we'll find out why and check out the new Quest. But first, back to BMW. We're going to head to Europe to check out the company's latest edition of its most popular vehicle.
Well, BMW has a long history of coupe tradition, and now the third generation of the BMW 3 Series coupe, which has been our largest seller in the coupe segment over the years. The new 335 engine is an inline 6-cylinder with bi-turbo technology, high precision direct injection. This is the first application of all those components in one engine that we know of. It produces 300 horsepower, and what is even more impressive in the driving experience is 300 foot-pounds of torque directly from 1400 RPM.
My initial impressions are extremely positive. I was really struck by the car's ability to deliver both handling and a terrific ride, and a lot of power and a lot of tractability. They seem to have really dealt with the contradiction between those elements in this car completely.
The 3 Series in general to the BMW model lineup is our volume seller on a worldwide and a Canadian basis. As we grow in Canada with 15 straight years of consecutive sales growth and fingers crossed another one this year, we see the 3 Series in the area of 50% of our sales overall, of which the coupe is about 15% of that, along with what is expected from an elegant luxury coupe, and that is luxuries and features such as the seatbelt assist. It allows you to feel very comfortable and somewhat pampered during a drive. It has suspension technology and run-flat tires that are both performance-oriented but also very luxury and comfort-oriented as well.
The cars are extremely well balanced. They're very keen on keeping a 50-50 weight distribution front to rear, so the car always feels very firmly planted on the road. And on top of that, they've developed technologies like active steering to really fully kind of enhance the balance that the car inherently already has.
The 335 is such a beautiful car that I tell people who come to me and ask for advice on car buying, even if you're not in the market for a BMW, go and drive one anyway. Drive a 3 Series BMW and it'll benchmark your entire feelings about that class of car, because it's so well put together, it's got so much response. I mean, 2 turbos in a car like that, what more could you ask for, really?
The new generation of the 3 Series coupe continues to bring that ultimate driving experience to our market in Canada, which is certainly very valued. There are a lot of enthusiasts in the market that may not necessarily need the room of a four-door car that it may offer, and so can step up that performance a little bit with a two-door coupe.
Oh no, not another ticket. Details later on Kenzie's Corner.
You know, if I had to sum up this year, it would be the year of the small car. To date, we've looked at the Kia Rio, Hyundai Accent and Honda Fit, to name but three. This week on Test Drive, it's Nissan's turn as we put this all-new Versa under the microscope. At first blush, the Versa comes across as a car that blends style with substance. Body-coloured bumpers, large headlights and a sweeping roofline that flows neatly down into the tailgate highlights the Versa's sporty style. Likewise, considering its diminutive dimensions, there's a surprising amount of interior space. The key contributor here is the long 2600mm wheelbase. This thing ensures plenty of space for both the front and rear seat riders alike. However, from here on in, the Versa is very much a mixed bag. Around at the back, the Versa is a mixture of good and bad. On the one hand, much needed rear wash wiper, a tailgate that lifts well up out of the way, a privacy cover to keep prying eyes off your valuables, as well as 17.8 cubic feet of cargo space, which is big considering this car's dimensions. The drawbacks, you get a high lift over, and this tapering through here limits what you can put in the back. And with the seats folded flat, what you see is what you get because the base is bolted to the body. Power comes from a 1.8 litre twin cam that features variable valve timing and decent numbers. 122 ponies and 127 pound-feet of torque at 4,800 RPM. When it comes to the transmission, there's a choice of three. A 6-speed manual box is standard, while a 4-speed automatic and Nissan's Xtronic continuously variable transmissions are optional. The tester came with the latter. Now the CVT can, according to who you believe, improve fuel economy by anywhere between 4 and 15%. No matter how you measure it, this combination, well, it promises to be a key advantage. So you've got a fuel-efficient 1.8 litre engine, a continuously variable transmission which helps the cause enormously. That's why this little Versa gets 36 miles per gallon in the city and 46 out on the highway. So what's the catch? Right here. You have to listen to this racket for a full 11 seconds to get up to 100 kilometers an hour. Riding on front struts, a torsion beam rear axle and 2 roll bars, the Versa displayed a lot of body roll through the pylons. Now in fairness, the high seating position does tend to exaggerate the roll that surfaces. That stated, there is more than I expected. Likewise, the Versa slips into understeer earlier in the proceedings than expected, and this in spite of the sensibly sized 185/65 R15 tyres. Finally, given the softer settings, I expected a smooth, almost Buick-like ride on the road. Not so. Expansion joints and the like filter back into the cabin with quite a jolt. It's a conundrum I'm at a loss to explain. The inside of this Versa has been nicely finished off, and it comes very well equipped if you go with the SL and add the tech package. Basically what you get, drop-down side air curtains, seat-mounted airbags, dual front airbags, you get cruise control, which is a rarity at this end of the market. You also get a very good sounding radio that comes with a subwoofer in the back and Bluetooth connectivity. It's a lot more than you expect considering the price. The elevated level of content continues with the brakes. While anti-lock is optional on the base model, it's standard fare on the up-level SL tested, which is a smart move on Nissan's behalf. The front discs and rear drums work very well with the ABS to bring controlled stops that measure 40.1 meters from 100 kilometers an hour. This, for a change, well, it's better than most of the Versa's key competition. You know, I came into this road test expecting good things of the Versa because it is, after all, a Nissan. and they do, generally speaking, build a decent product. However, at the end, well, I walk away rather disappointed.
Time to update our 2006 Honda Ridgeline long-term tester. We're finding that it was full value for its pick last year as Truck of the Year. The more I drive this thing, the more I like it. There's all kinds of features that are just kind of there, but you just don't realize how handy they are. The other day on a really long drive, I noticed that the dead pedal for your left foot to rest on makes a huge difference to back comfort. And you really only notice that after you've driven it 3 or 4 hours straight, but it's a big difference. Small thing, but it makes a big difference. Now, we were off-roading with the Ridgeline a while ago, and I took it to a location that I often go to with my motocross bike. And of course, no big deal for the motorcycle, but I thought, you know, I'd better walk through this stream crossing before I try it in the truck and get into trouble. And the rocks had so much algae on them, were so slippery, I had a hard time even standing up in there, and I really thought that the truck might have a hard time climbing out the grade on the other side. Tiptoed my way in there and tiptoed my way out, just used a tiny bit of throttle, and it never slipped a wheel. I couldn't believe how sure-footed this thing is. And you get that feeling all the time you drive it. Lots of great storage on the Ridgeline as well. That's a big feature that you really find handy. One little glitch that I've noticed though, with it having a 5-speed automatic, there's a lot of upshifts and a lot of downshifts. And a lot of times when you're just making a turn at low speed and going to accelerate, you'll catch the transmission making a downshift and the vehicle kind of falls on its face and then jumps. It's a little bit annoying. It's not a real problem. And I drove another Ridgeline and it was identical in every respect in terms of that problem. So, you know, I think it's something you just have to learn to live with. The 5-speed automatic gives you great fuel economy at cruising speed, and there's a lot of positive features to it. It just has that one odd nuance that it kind of falls on its face and then jumps if you catch it at the wrong time when you're accelerating. Other than that, the vehicle's been great. We're at about 11,600 kilometers. Not a problem yet.
Under the hood you have all-wheel drive, and of course you have a 100% ethanol driven vehicle, which fits very nicely with our alternative fuel, and significant horsepower as well as torque.
When we introduced the Quest a couple of years ago, we wanted to bring a different van to the marketplace, and we realized that there was a market for a kind of sexy van, one that had a real sense of style, a real ability to act like a car, but have all of the real benefits of a van. It had to be big, had to have lots of utility, and we knew that we could combine those in one package, and that was really where Quest came from. And our target was the sexy mom, because, you know, women who want to drive a van, they need it for their kids, but they don't want to look like they're old-fashioned or out of it. They want a vehicle that says, hey, I'm still me, and this vehicle is really important to me. We learned that we may have gone a little bit too far. You know, you can get radical and then you can get kind of a little way out there. Certainly nothing to do with the exterior styling of the vehicle. That has been really well accepted, and people who buy Quest really love them. They say they want a van that looks like this kind of vehicle. They don't want a normal van. Second thing was that in the utility area, we probably hadn't gone far enough, and we could build in more utility, more usability. So when we started to do this major modification of the vehicle, we wanted to build in more features and more utility, because that's what a van is all about.
I've always liked the Quest because it does the fundamental thing that a minivan should do, which is carry people around in comfort. It does all that, but there are some style elements that I think really turned people off. One of them, of course, was the center C-stack that looked like a beer keg, you know, and I think a lot of people looked at that and thought, maybe not.
Well, we made the rear seat a lot easier to use. It really is truly one-handed. For example, the rear headrests now fold down automatically. You don't have to remove them. We've added extra storage capacity. With the DVD player, for example, we moved it from the center console area into the area right in the dashboard. Very convenient, very easy to get to. There's a lot more storage inside, and the storage is a lot easier to use. From a styling point of view, we have no problem with the look of this vehicle, and from a utility point of view, we knew we could do even more. It was just some areas on the interior where we knew we needed to make some changes that would make it a little bit more conventional perhaps, but it also made it more usable.
I think they, in their own way, have sort of maybe, admitted that the first design might have been a little too off the wall, but on the other hand, they've kept the essential character of the Quest. If you park it beside an Odyssey or a Sienna, it's a very different looking vehicle. It is definitely a Quest. You can't mistake it for anything else. But they have changed the interior. It's not quite as funky and different as it was. It's still very stylish. I love the interior of it, the way it's laid out, but it's definitely different from the other ones. It's not, I would not call this a mainstream minivan.
You may recognize this shot. It's the one we use each week to highlight an engine. You get to see it and also hear it. Well, we've had some viewers over the years suggest that the revving, even though it's short and it is a warm engine, could be harmful. Well, is it? Well, let's put that question to our man in the Quaker State garage, Bill Gardner.
Brad, my old man would have wrung your neck for doing that, revving an engine that high without any load on it. But technically speaking, as long as you don't exceed the red line, and I'd stay well below it if I were you, you're not going to hurt the engine. But you're wasting fuel. When you punch that throttle wide open and then come right back out of it, you're just sending fuel into that engine and then out the tailpipe needlessly. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a fuel economy standpoint, but it certainly sounds pretty cool if you got a big V8 engine like the Hemi V8 and the Ram pickup. Now, the first generation of Ram pickups with the Hemi V8, by the way, I love that commercial, the second one in the series where the rednecks pulled up at the stoplight about to drag race that guy with the Hemi pickup. And the guy said, "Has that thing got a Hemi in it?" And they said, "You're about to find out."
Hey, that thing got a Hemi? You're about to find out.
My all-time favorite. Anyhow, with 345 horsepower and 375 pounds-feet of torque, the Hemi engine made those big Ram pickups feel light on their feet. Lots of power. But of course, when you're using all that power, fuel economy isn't that great. So the Chrysler Group has come up with a way to improve the fuel economy of the Hemi V8 by up to 20% if you play your cards right. And they figure that there'll be an aggregate gain of about 10% right across the board by going to a system they call MDS, multiple displacement system, that deactivates 4 cylinders when the engine's under light load. So in other words, part throttle cruise, that engine will run quite happily on 4 cylinders and save you a lot of fuel. As soon as you get in the throttle a bit and demand the power, boom, 40 milliseconds, it's back to running on all 8 cylinders, and you've got the power of the Hemi V8. So you've kind of got the best of both worlds. And on an engine with electronic engine controls, this particular one, you've got 1 injector per cylinder, so 8 electronic injectors. You've got 8 ignition coils, each one firing 2 spark plugs per cylinder on the Hemi V8. So with electronic controls, you can easily deactivate 4 cylinders, but the Chrysler Group's gone one step further, and they actually deactivate the valve lifters in the 4 cylinders that they're shutting off electronically, so they don't have any pumping losses moving air in and out of those 4 cylinders. And as I said, you can save up to 20%. But like all things, when we're talking about fuel economy, driving habits come into play in a tremendous effect. In other words, if you're always in and out of that throttle, you're going to negate those gains that were built into this engine. And the Hemi engine was designed right from the start to have MDS on it to save you fuel. So adjust your driving accordingly. Easy on the acceleration, cruise at lower speeds, and don't be erratic. Don't be going in and out of the throttle, and you'll save up to 20% on your fuel economy, and they figure 10% right across the board. So driving habits count a lot. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2006.
The challenge for any car company is to put down some roots. Obviously, the likes of our competition, they've been here longer, and with that comes some history. For Mitsubishi, we're relatively new in the marketplace. Having been here once, coming back a second time, we're here to stay.
the Spider that we've seen today is perhaps something that's going to at least create some traffic. It may not be the product that Joe Public is going to go in and buy, but it certainly is going to get their attention.
You come back to your car, it's been parked for a while, and oh no, you've got a ticket. But then you look more closely and you realize, wait a minute, this isn't a ticket. This is a message from the Manitoba Public Insurance Company. This particular one was found in Brandon, Manitoba. No, it wasn't actually on Brad's truck. We're cheating a bit there. But this is an interesting concept. Some observers come along and looked at the vehicle and have evaluated it from a safety and security point of view. For example, the keys were not visible. That's good. The garage door opener was not visible. That's good. Otherwise, you can break into your house as well as breaking into your car. The doors were locked. That's good. The windows were open. Now, this sounds like one of these Darwin Awards things. If you lock the car, you might as well have the windows closed too, because otherwise it doesn't make much sense. The steering wheel lock, well, there was not one. I guess they mean those bars that you put across the steering wheel. Possessions were visible. Yes. Bad idea. Money was not visible. Well, that might be related to the fact the windows were open. And there was no immobilizer sticker. I guess that means the car didn't have a security device. Now, I think this is a good idea because it tells people, here's what you can do to make yourself and your possessions safer. It seems to me that rather than jumping in front of traffic and flagging some guy down for going 5 kilometers over the speed limit, our authorities could do a little bit more of this. Why don't they? Well, there's no money in this. But it seems to me that more important than raising taxes and raising funds, it's more important to give people positive feedback. I'm Jim Kenzie.
You are looking at the brand new Nissan Maxima that has been giving a total makeover. We don't have time this week, but we'll take a closer look at the Maxima, which really began Nissan's renaissance. And also on a future program, we'll have a closer look at that Nissan Quest. Well, that's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
I think it's time Toyota put some style into its sport utility vehicles. I mean, they've had a lot of very bland, dull-looking trucks. So by reaching a bit into their history and putting some pizzazz into the styling, the vehicle offers something that they don't have anywhere else in a Toyota showroom.
TSN's Motoring 2006 has been brought to you by the new Q from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.